I married my wife because I owe her family around $10,000. My name is John. I'm going to tell you a story that's been eating at me for a long time, a story about a decision I made that changed my life. It's a confession, a chance to be honest about something that's been heavy on my heart for a decade. It all started when I was young. My dad left when I was just 6, leaving me with my mom and a broken heart. Life got a lot harder after that. My mom struggled with drinking, and the house was always messy. She would yell a lot, and I would spend most of my time trying to avoid her. I didn't really have friends. I felt lonely. I just wanted to disappear. The one thing I looked forward to was going to school. Not because of the teachers, they were pretty tough and didn't really care about the kids, but because of my friends. They were the only ones who made me laugh and feel like I belonged. We would hang out and tell jokes, and I would forget about all the problems I had at home, even if just for a little while. But my group of friends had a dark side. They were bullies. I was always scared to say anything about it, too afraid of them turning on me. I just didn't want to be the one doing it or the one being picked on. All I wanted was to finish school, to escape the whole mess. Then, one day, a new girl came to school. She was so quiet and shy, and her eyes always seemed to be downcast. She was kind of invisible. My friends saw her as an easy target. They started picking on her, making fun of her clothes, saying mean things. They liked to get a reaction from people. They thought it was funny to see someone squirm. For weeks, they did it. The girl would cry and try to avoid going to school. It was terrible. She was scared and alone, and I felt awful seeing how afraid she was. One day, they locked her in a locker, and I knew I had to do something. I told my friends to stop, to leave her alone. I didn't want to be part of that any longer. She saw that I stood up for her, and for a while, she looked at me with something close to gratitude. Then, something changed. She started seeking me out. When my friends would skip school, she'd come and talk to me. We'd sit together at lunch. She'd share her food, even though I never remembered to bring anything for myself. She'd even help me with my homework, because I never understood what was going on in class. And she started paying for things. I didn't mind the free stuff. She had a way of making me feel less like a burden. I felt like I owed her something for sticking up for me. Over time, we started hanging out more and more. She introduced me to her parents, and we went to dinner. She always paid for everything, always trying to be kind and help me out. I was starting to like her a lot. She told me she loved me. She said it in such a clear, simple way, and it surprised me. It scared me. It felt wrong. It felt like I was playing a part, like I was pretending to be someone I wasn't. The whole thing made me think differently about the world. I felt like I was trapped, like a puppet on a string. I tried to stay away from the girl for a while, but she was hard to ignore. We'd see each other at school or at church. It was hard to deny the way she felt about me. But I couldn't bring myself to love her the way she loved me. It felt too complicated. When I turned 17, I really wanted a car. Cars were expensive, and the insurance for a teenager was even more expensive. I didn't have enough money, but I told myself it would make my life easier. I knew I should have just kept working, but I couldn't bring myself to face it. I needed to find a shortcut, an easy way out. I asked her parents for money. I said I'd pay them back someday. I knew they would say no, that they shouldn't say yes. They should have put their foot down and told me to work harder and earn it myself. But they didn't. They said yes, and they bought me a car. It was beautiful, shiny and new, everything I had ever dreamed of. It was also a burden. A heavy, awful burden. It made me realize that I had to do something to take care of their daughter, to show them I wasn't just some leech taking advantage of them. At least until I paid them back, I would look after her. It was the only thing I felt I could do. I started driving her everywhere. She was so excited to finally have a ride, and we spent even more time together. We would laugh and joke, and I try not to let my bad feelings show. I was stuck, trapped in a life I didn't want. I would drive her to church. I hated church, but she was so passionate about it, so devoted. I wanted to make her happy. I was so wrapped up in my own thoughts that it felt like my heart wasn't even there anymore. I had forgotten what it was like to feel anything, except for a creeping sense of panic. She would always be smiling, and I would look at her smile and try to pretend I was happy. But it was her who made the big changes. She was the one who kissed me first, who dared to risk her heart for a guy who couldn't even tell her how he felt. She was the one who brought me to church every Sunday, the one who invited me into her family. And then, she asked me to marry her. She wanted to be with me forever, to have a life with me. I didn't know what to do. The truth is, I felt obligated. She had given me so much. I couldn't imagine saying no. So, we got married. I even gave her my first kiss. We've been married for 10 years now. We've had some good times, but I'm still haunted by that decision. I still owe her parents for the car, and I owe my wife all the money she's ever given me. My wife is a teacher. She works so hard and she deserves better. She's kind and loving, always trying to make me smile, trying to show me the good in the world. I know I should love her the same way, but I don't. I don't know if I ever will. I've tried to forget about my feelings, to just live my life. We're happy on the surface. We spend time together, I go to church with her, and I help out around the house. But there's a wall between us, and I'm scared of it. I never tell her how I feel. I've never cheated on my wife. I've never even thought about cheating. It's a thought I can't even process. The idea of hurting her fills me with dread. I'm not sure if it's love. I'm just not sure. It feels like I'm acting in a play, reading lines I don't understand. My wife is a teacher. She loves her job, loves helping kids. It's everything I'm not. She always says I'm a good man, but I can't see it. She can't understand why I don't love her the same way. It's as if I have a secret, a heavy burden that I carry. A few months ago, I shared this story. It was scary and humbling. I didn't know if people would understand or judge me. But I had to get it off my chest. A lot of people read my story and responded, telling me what they thought. Some told me to leave my wife and pay back my debts, to be free. Others told me to stay, that we should work things out, to try harder. It was overwhelming, but it made me think about everything in a new light. It all started to change. One day, I decided to do something special for my wife. We went out to lunch to celebrate our anniversary. I looked at her, and all of a sudden, it was like I was seeing her for the first time. I realized that she's beautiful. Her eyes are the color of the ocean. She has a kind smile, a laugh that makes me smile. It's hard to remember all the things that used to make me happy, but it came back to me in that moment. I told her I loved her, and even though it felt like the first time, it felt wrong too, because it had been so long. It felt like a lie. We talked a lot that day, and the conversations came more naturally. Later, I went to see her parents. They told me not to worry about paying them back. They said that they were just glad we still visited. They hugged me, and for the first time, it felt real. When we got home, I opened up Internet Explorer, the computer program I still used. It's probably outdated. I know it's outdated, but I've been afraid of trying something new. It felt like a test. I wanted my wife to see what had happened to my confession. I wanted her to know what others thought. I was scared of how she would react. We sat down together, and she read it. She cried. She hugged me so tightly I thought I couldn't breathe. I remembered only seeing her cry at our wedding, and even then, she called it tears of joy. I confessed everything to her, told her about my feelings and how much I'd been hiding them. I told her how much she meant to me, that she was my life, even though I was afraid to say it. I said it over and over, trying to find the words, trying to get it right. She told me that I saved her from doing something awful, something that could have ended her life. She said that without me, she wouldn't be happy. Her tears were unstoppable, and mine soon followed. I wasn't prepared for how much she truly cared. How much she loved me. She's asleep now. I'm watching her sleep. I feel a little calmer, a little lighter. I don't know if I'll ever love her the same way she loves me, but I know that she deserves more than a half-hearted attempt at love. I don't know how to be a good husband, but I'm going to try. This is my story. This is my confession. I hope you understand.